Welcome to my Scrappin space. I'm Joni Martin. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator located in Southwest Wisconsin. And I'm here to share a beautiful Christmas card with you. Well, I think it's beautiful. How about you say we get my face out of the way and we start looking at what we're going to create. So I paired two products from the September to December mini catalog. Let's talk about the paper first. This is Season of Elegance, and you get 6 12 by 12 sheets, double-sided, 2 of each print. I focused on the prints that include Mossy Meadow and Old Olive, and you have 2 different ones there. And for the card I'm using today, I went with this one because there was more Old Olive and Mossy Meadow, and the gold was throughout, but you could use either green one. And then on the back will be a matte, okay? Meaning there's no gold on it. But as I said, there's 2 green. There is 2 different basic beige. I think I saved my 2 favorite for last. This is Pretty Peacock and this is Cherry Cobbler. And you can find other cards on my blog using these papers. Okay. The other thing that I included on this card was a bundle. And a bundle means if you buy both the stamp and the dies, you're going to save a little bit of money. Let's first look at the stamp set. It has some great sayings in it, and also it has, you could stamp a tree and add this to the tree and add so many other things to the tree. All I really used out of this today is this saying, a very Merry Christmas. But there's a lot in here that I think it's a stamp set, a Christmas stamp set I would use for a lot. But the die set. So, first of all, you can stamp the tree and die cut it. You can add some other things on your tree. This would be like garland. These are tiny little bows. These are ornaments. There's so much you can do here. I didn't do any of that with this tree, but I just wanted to show you that. There are also 4 dies that I use to cut from gold foil for here. And if you're making multiples of these cards, this is one of the ways that you can save some time. You could cut out 4 pieces of foil, the size you need for the tree, and cut all 4 at one time through your cut and emboss. Every Christmas card you send out does not need to be exactly the same. And no 2 people are going to know that somebody got a different gold tree on their card than you did. So that's one way to save some time when you're making multiple cards. How about if we get started and I can show you how easy this card is to go together. And that's important too if you're making multiple cards. There are beautiful, beautiful cards out there, but some of them take a lot of work. Those are the cards you want to send to people who appreciate card making. At least that's my theory. So otherwise, this is a quick and easy card that has a lot of impact. And people will love that you made a handmade card for them, and it won't really take that long. So my card base is Mossy Meadow. And as I said, Stampin' Up told me that's the colors that are in here, so I don't have to stop and think about what matches. And then I cut this piece just slightly smaller than my mat. And my mat, sorry guys, let me grab one here, is the standard 4 by 5 1/4. And I cut my mat just smaller. Now, all the numbers will be on the blog, scrappinwithjoni.com. Because I like a narrow mat, so I cut it 1/8 smaller, which means if this is 4 inches, I cut this 3 7/8, and if this is 5 1/4, I cut it 5 1/8. If you don't like to cut in 8ths, or if you want to see more of the mat, cut it in quarters. So you cut it in 3 3/4 by 5. I'm going to attach it with the multi-purpose glue. 1, it's really strong, and 2, I like a narrow mat, but that means I need to get it to land right where it should. And the multi-purpose glue lets me move it around. I have a couple seconds of grace so that I kind of have it right where I want it. Ooh, that looks good. Okay, then we're going to attach that to the card base. So if you were making lots of cards, let's say you're making 60 of this card, you could cut paper at one time because it can get a little tedious to just keep making this. But if you do it in steps, so you could cut all your card bases, all your mats, if you wanted to, all the print paper. Another night, you could cut a bunch of gold trees. Another night, you could stamp all the insides. And then as you go to assemble, all of a sudden it will go pretty quick. So we have this. And you could just attach a tree here, but I felt like it needed something to ground it. So I have Old Olive, which is the same as my mat. And I use the deco rectangles because I just wanted a little bit of an edge around there. If you don't have the deco rectangles, just cut a standard rectangle and don't worry about die cutting it. But I also embossed, and that means that rather than being a flat piece of paper, it has some texture. And that is enough just to kind of elevate your card up a step. I used exposed brick, partly because I love this folder, and it's a relatively flat embossing, so you'll be able to add these gold trees that don't have a lot to attach to, honestly. They're so open. Now here's another tip. If you're making multiples of these, you can emboss 2 of them at the same time. So it's half as many runs through your cut and emboss machine. Let's get our gold trees out of the way. I'm going to grab my cut and emboss machine. I'm going to put it this way so I have the handle closest to me. Push down the sides. I love that the sides go up when I'm not using it because I can quickly fill my crafting table, and I have more room because this doesn't take up as much room. So as I said, I'm using the exposed brick, and when I get an embossing folder, I put the name on it and which plates. And the plates are simply what go with it when it goes through the machine. So it's going to use plate 1. I'm going to lay this on here, and I'm just going to take a second and straighten it out. I'm not sure anyone would know if there were crooked bricks on it, but that's okay. I always put it fold first with the Stampin' Up logo showing. And then here's the most important always rule. There's always a plate on top, whether you're die cutting or embossing. It protects what's between the plates, your embossing folder, your die cuts, and it protects your machine. And then we're just going to run this through. Can you tell how easily this is going through? If your machine isn't working as easily, stop. Check that your plates are straight, that you have the right plates. You don't want to break your machine just because you're going to battle with it. If it's really fighting you, it's telling you that something's not working there. Okay, so I have 2. Now I only need 1, so the other one will go in with the other card pieces for when I assemble all these cards. Now I have, so this is the tree I already used. That's 1. You can use these. If I was attaching this just to the paper, I would put an adhesive sheet on the back and then just peel it off. But an adhesive sheet may not have enough to catch it here. So I'm going to use glue dots. And glue dots come on a roll, and they're just really easy. And the other thing I like about glue dots is I can kind of roll them to fit. So let's do this one. Isn't that pretty? I think that's going to look great on there. They're all going to look great, but let's do this one. And on the back of here, I'm going to take a glue dot, and I want to make sure that I have a glue dot at the top, somewhere in the middle, and a couple at the bottom. So let's go up here at the top. Here's the other thing about using an embossed background. The glue dots are clear. You can't see where I have a glue dot, and when I attach it to here, you're not going to be able to see it either. So you can kind of put them kind of in different places, and they're going to hold on to you, and no one else will even see the glue dots back there. You could also use that multi-purpose glue I like, but I will tell you this, you need to use a very small amount. If you use too much, it's going to smush out, and that's going to leave a sticky residue, and that's not a good look for your card. You don't want someone to pull your Christmas card out of the envelope and have it stick to the envelope, do you? No. Okay, so I'm just pushing these glue dots down. You don't need a lot. I do want to get one there somewhere in the middle though. Okay, so when I get to the end, you just kind of feel, and you can tell where the last few glue dots are. There we go. And they are really sticky. They're sticking to my fingers as I go. I may add one more just because there's one left on the sheet, and then I'm done with the sheet. That's a great reason. There we go. Okay, so then this is just going to go onto here. And I'm going to push. And here's how you know that you have it attached. Nothing's happening to it. Isn't that pretty? Look at that on there. Wow. Okay. And I have still 2 more trees already cut for me as I continue to build this card. So I have, this would be considered my card front, my mat, and my card base. I'm going to attach this. I didn't even use embellishments on this card. There's enough gold and glitter on here. It doesn't need anything else. But what I did do was I took some dimensionals, which think of like sticky pieces of foam. And as you peel them off, they're already sticky on the back. And I'm going to put 6 on, 3 on each side, because I don't want it to kind of fall down in the middle there. There we go. And then we're going to peel the backs off. And these backs are really staticky. So I contain mine, thanks to a tip from another Stampin' Up demonstrator friend, in a little bowl. Otherwise, I used to kind of just let them land where they would. And they would land on, I'd pick them up on my shoes or on my clothing, and they would end up upstairs, in the car, all over. Okay. And then you could put it right there in the center. I tend to like things off center, partly because then I don't have to spend a lot of time deciding if it's the center. Okay, so we have a really pretty card front, and we're already done. This is why it would be a great card to make multiples of. As I said, I used the sentiment from that stamp set for A Very Merry Christmas. 1, I think it's a great greeting, and 2, it's kind of tree-shaped, which I thought was fun. This is kind of boring, guys. Like, yes, it all matches, but yeah. So I have a scrap, and you would have a scrap left as you cut these, of this. It's a 1/2 inch by 6, partly because it's easier for me if it's longer to hold on to, and partly because then I don't have to take a lot of time. If you cut it right to 4, and then you don't get on there straight, you're going to have a little piece of white showing at either end, and that's kind of annoying. So we're going to put our multi-purpose glue, and we're putting it on the card base rather than on the strip, because the card base is smaller this way. And this way I can kind of move it around it. If I put glue all the way along the back of here, I'm going to get glue where I don't want it. So that's going to go there. And I'm moving to this side because there's more gold I can see. We want to get that gold on there. All right, we're going to give that a second to set up. Okay, those of you who follow me know we are not sending this pretty card in a naked envelope. You could stamp a tree, especially if you were trying to get lots of cards out of your print paper and you didn't want to cut up any for envelope flaps. Your best bet is to stamp a tree. But I love paper on the envelope. I think it offers just a lot of impact. So, again, this is smaller than this piece, so we're going to put glue on here. And I'm putting glue around the outside, meaning around the outside of my envelope flap. Just like this. It just needs to be a narrow run of glue. This is going to go right here. This piece is 2 1/4 by 6, but again, all the numbers are on my blog. There we go. Now let's do a little trimming up. I'm going to trim using my card. The back of my card is my guide. I'm going to trim up this and this. And we're going to trim up this envelope flap using the envelope flap as our guide. This is another task. You could do all the envelope flaps in one night, whether you were, or all the envelopes, whether you were stamping or covering the envelope flaps. It's a little less intimidating if you do all the steps and then all you have left to do is assemble. I'm like, wow, that went pretty quick. Okay, let's put this on the inside. You can use the multi-purpose glue. I'm also a big fan of our tape runners. They're quick and easy. Not, oh my gosh, I have something hot in there. Not that anyone's going to see it, but it's kind of bugging me. Let's get that out of there, maybe. There we go. All right. That's going to go right in here. And look what that little 1/2 inch strip of paper did for this card. There we go. Really very quick and easy. Whichever, if you like one tree more than the other, certainly cut all those out. But you have the option of cutting 4 trees at one time through your cut and emboss. If you're making multiple cards, that's a time saver. So there's our Christmas card. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it more than you know. If If you liked what you saw, please share it with your crafty friends. And until next time, take care and keep crafting. It's good for you.